Welcome to the Fourth Estate. Tonight we are talking about political parties and their policy options. The Forum for Democratic Change tomorrow is launching its policy agenda here at the Kampala Serena. We'll also talk about the political parties and their station today. And in the studio I have Dr. Patrick Wakida from Research World International, my OB, my head boy, Russian trained. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Trained in what?
Trained.
Academically.
Okay.
You're still in the show. I also have policy analyst, Godbert Mushabe. You're welcome.
Thank you, Chris.
I learned in the policy class that policy analysis is not for everybody. It is for technical people.
Yes.
So
very serious people.
Very serious people like Godbert Mushabe. You're welcome. The Fourth Estate is delighted to welcome one of his own, the pioneer of this show, now Minister for Presidency, Frank Tumwebaze. Frank, you're welcome.
Thank you, Chris.
The public was wondering why, after the Fourth Estate gave you appointment, you didn't come back.
No, you remember I debated with you for like 2 months, but you see, weekends, I have some call for duty up country. I have to serve people of Kampala as Minister for Kampala, and during the weekend, I have to be in my constituency to serve those people. But today, because I had to value your appointment, I had to excuse and get a leave from my people. That's why I'm here.
Thank you for honoring Fourth Estate. But first of all, we were told that you had been sacked and sent on first leave. How did you all of a sudden end up in the cabinet list? That you had 10 billion in your account, Frank.
You see, it depends. How you get the information is how the information goes.
Yes.
In my language, they say that when a cow dies in a way you are not sure about, it is slaughtered also in the same way. So when you get news flying over and you don't know where they are originating, the same news we are getting with her. So all that was there. It was just good luck for me. And you can see how good luck comes. Those who wish you bad luck end up giving you good luck.
Wow. I am a dangerous substitute for Charles Mangusha Ampaji, who has traveled. And let me start with Godba. Tomorrow, if this is launching a policy agenda, what should people expect of such a policy agenda?
Yeah, I think that any political party that launches or formulates a policy agenda, one, they should be looking at the policy challenges that we face as a country today, mainly in the areas of education, in terms of quality, in the areas of the economy, because our economy has been slowing down over the last 5 years. The economy slowed down, but most importantly, the economy has been growing, but without creating jobs. That for me is a major issue that you need to address. I think such an agenda should look at the issue of urbanization, that this country is mushrooming in terms of urban centers, but largely unplanned. People moving into these urban centers and basically we're creating big, fairly huge slums. And fourth is the focus of any investment in this country is really, for me, to consider a significant percentage of our population that lives in perpetual vulnerability in terms of power, because of government interventions. Poverty levels, according to official statistics, have gone down to about 19% by our national standards and 30% by international standards. But for me, the most significant number is the 40% who live on the cliff, that in case of any potential risk, in case of any turbulences in the economy, those people can easily fall back into poverty.
So what would be the policy option?
I think I would, one, on the economy, I would really look for policies that focus on triggering a new forms of economic growth. That the current policies that we've been pursuing, if you consider the fact that over the last 30 years we have grown, but you get a sense that we are stagnating in a number of areas that I have mentioned. So I would want to see some policy proposals that are able to trigger new forms of growth In other words, we cannot continue growing on the same trajectory. The same policies that we've been pursuing, we cannot continue with them. So we can't continue with a business as usual scenario. So any party, whether it's the ruling party or the opposition parties, they should be able to demonstrate that they are innovative enough. They can come up with new ideas on how to trigger new forms of growth. I would, for example, look for investments that focus on tapping the ingenuity of young people, the women. The current government has been trying, but most of part of the problem with the current government is not that it's not trying. Most of their actions are firefighting. The policy is not consistent. It changes time and again. So I think that you would want to see a commitment to specific policy actions, and the actions are focused on the medium and the long term, and there is consistency. I would want to see a more deliberate investment in education, because we've made some progress in education. The introduction of universal primary education, so many children reported to be in school. But I've been doing research and trying to figure out what exactly is happening. I was shocked to find that between 1997 to 2008, because the most recent cohort of enrollment after 1997 is the one of 2008, which started in 2013. Between those years, over 16 million children are unaccounted for because they never registered for PLE. Now, unless government has been, has been giving us numbers that are ghosts, this would be seen as a major crisis in the country, because where are these 16 million plus children? So I would want to see political parties really coming up with competing ideas on how do you make sure that the kids are enrolled in primary one, they stay there, they complete the 7 years of education, and they are able to transition. Because that's the kind of crisis that we are facing.
Patrick Wakida, what could be the particular policy ingredients that can address the issues Godeba is raising?
Thank you very much. You see, I have said this before, and I think we've discussed this, that however beautiful these policies are going to be, we must first sort the issue of leadership. Leadership.
You are talking about in specific relation to political parties.
Yes.
So how do you connect the leadership question to political parties?
I know.
Like FDC.
I know that this country in the past has been rated as one of those countries with very good development policies. So we must ask ourselves, what happened to those beautiful policies? You can call these education policies that my brother Godba is talking about. You can look at the health sector, bleeding, completely bleeding. You can see your father who is suffering in the village to look for money to get you to school. And then you complete and you can't find a job.
Yes, we see that. What's the policy intervention?
That is where we must first of all see the problem. What are the policy interventions that we need? One, do we have a policy of education that allows this kid to get education, plan, and get the skills, so when that child comes out, he can do something. Is
that different from what's happening today?
I'm telling you, it's not there. He has just told you that we have kids, about 2.1 million kids enrolled. And by the time of primary 7, you have about 1.6.
No, 1.5.
Yeah, about 1.5 by the end of sitting for PLE. That tells you the problem. And unfortunately, he did not also mention that there is a problem further. Because in the Ministry of Education, if you go there to look for data, you will find that their capitation grant is based on the base year, which is enrollment year. That means for 7 years, my brother Tumwebaze is releasing money for 2.1 or 2.2 million kids who are actually.
So what should the political parties do in their policy framework?
The first thing is you must come up with what makes these kids drop out. Why are kids dropping out? You must be sure that you know why these kids are not going through up to primary 7. Because the measure of performance of any kid should not be at the point of start. It should be at the point of end. And that is very critical. So any sensible government must address that. Let us look at the culture sector. What is happening with the culture sector? You have an economic growth in a sector which is not the main predominant sector in an economy. And I've said this again and again, and I said, look at this country this way. That one, agriculture sector is the main sector. It employs the majority of Ugandans, but it contributes less than 25%.
Less than 20 now.
Less than 20%. Yeah. So you need interventions. When we were growing up, me and you know that there was a cooperative union. It provided seeds. It provides agriculture extension services. You know this. It provided storage. And the biggest challenge of a farmer in the village, in my village, is actually, those are the things. My farmer in the village, a peasant, needs to have a storage facility for whatever he has produced, needs to have seeds for whatever he's going to grow, needs support of extension, some kind of advice to them. That is very critical. Let us look at this.
We are looking at it from the
Kerea.
prism of the political parties.
Yes.
For instance, FDC is launching their policy agenda tomorrow.
Yes.
Why is it taking that long? Why
That's a
today?
good
You see, Chris, I don't want to count.
When did the parties realize that there is a problem?
I really don't want to count you among people who don't read. Because I know you. We were in school together.
Yes.
You read. And you know that in 1996, there was a manifesto. In 2006,
2005, I think. Yeah.
Besigye produced a manifesto. In 2011, there was a manifesto.
So what are they launching tomorrow?
Wait a minute. And therefore, I don't want to hear this elitism increasing because the policies have been there. But remember, one thing is to launch a policy, another thing is to implement that policy.
So how are they?
And remember that
How are they going to launch tomorrow, and how are they going to implement?
You see, you've just asked me one question.
Yes.
You said, what is it they are launching if they already had a policy?
Yes.
Ideas evolve. Chris, ideas evolve. If this policy was launched in 2005 for FDC, it is irrelevant today. You ask Honorable Tumwebaze.
So who makes it irrelevant? Is it the NRM policy making you as irrelevant?
So the most important thing for us to look at, what are the proposals that they should be giving us? But that they have not had policies in the past, for me that's deception.
Then we talked about leadership.
Yes.
What kind of leadership then realized the need for an agenda?
No, the agenda has been there. You are not talking about realization, Chris.
Patrick, if I come in at
Yes.
that point, you see, if you look at the FDC,
Yes.
they launched actually a party platform
Yes.
in 2005. The difference between a party platform or policy agenda and the manifesto is that the party platform projects your, first of all, it projects the basis of your thinking, the principles that underpin your thinking, and then projects the long-term propositions of the things that you will do and how you do
Yes.
them.
Let's
When you go to
let's
the
draw in
manifesto,
the sitting
the
sitting minister
the
here.
manifesto deals with the nitty-gritties and the specific commitments that you make for a 5-year term of office. A party platform is supposed to transcend 5 years.
And it can be implemented by anybody.
Absolutely.
Frank, it will look like your policy options are being frowned at by the opposition, and therefore they are suggesting new ways to change things in this country. Where do you see policy success and failures in your government?
You see, Chris, when you asked the question, my brother Wakida became so nervous, but I have not known him for anything else. I know these people as consultants, so I don't expect them to be FDC publicists. But one fundamental point that people need to understand, and you asked a very right question, why all of a sudden this talk of a policy option being launched tomorrow? What has the contestation therefore for long been on? Because political parties shouldn't contest on emotions.
That's true.
They shouldn't contest on sentiments. They should contest on, one, their livelihood concerns of Ugandans that we must prescribe solutions for. Those solutions are the very ones that we package in policy options. And my biggest critique to the opposition has been, now, you are even if you Google on using this best search engine about Uganda's biggest opposition, I think the most articulated concern has been a man called Museveni, his overstay, and so many other things. So, whether you like it or not, the opposition and the leading party FDC in the opposition, for example, we do not know what is their policy position on increasing our exports. We do not know what is their policy position. Maybe we are yet to see. Okay? That's why I must thank them for their attempt. We are yet to hear their policy position on the security of Ugandans for both life and property. You see, livelihood concerns are those factors that will drive Ugandans to make a choice at the ballot, at the day of that casting the ballot. Who is that guy, or which is that political party that will ensure my security? Okay? That will give me good roads, that will give me good schools. So, with the political actors, with the political contenders, day 1, day 2, day 3, day in, day out, we must be contesting on those issues. So we must all admit that this discourse of discussing substantive issues has not been there. Yeah. I have not been hearing that. Now, when President Museveni continues
what were their manifestos all about?
I honestly don't know about it. Maybe they were just producing booklets for the sake of a manifesto. You have listened to KB Talk. By KB, I mean Dr. Kizza Besigye and all the other people he has recruited with his charisma, with his capacity to create issues. I have not heard him tell us how best we can increase our export volumes. How best we can increase on FDIs, foreign direct investments. I have not him tell us. They often accuse government of dwindling quality standards in education. Okay?
Do you doubt that?
Well, it is debatable. It is debatable. First of all, you do not expect a system that moved from nothing. You definitely did not have any model framework of free education. You now usher in a universal system. Definitely, challenges have to be there. So the policy expert, Godwin, will tell you that even good policies, you review them, okay? You assess their implementation, and even at some stage, you can call for a policy reversal if what you thought was the right direction, if it didn't work out. So the fundamental point here that we need to tell the whole country is that politics indeed should be based on policy contestation. It should not be on real drama, on demonizing of fellow political contenders. If you think NRM is putting taxpayers' money to construction of electricity dams, Karuma and so on and so forth, and if you feel that's not a right priority for Ugandans, yet you want employment and jobs to be created, tell us your best and superior alternative. So, to me, when parties come out and say we are launching a policy platform tomorrow, okay, let's begin to hear substantively, how does FDC stand on education? It's not enough to say UPE is rotten. Let's hear that superior prescription you have. Let's hear how you stand on bigger markets, domestic, regional, and international. Let's hear how you stand on security. Do we need to invest more in our security apparatus, or we are wasting taxpayers' money? Let's hear what you're talking about agriculture, which is largely a private sector-led activity, because the land as a major means of production is in the hands of the private people. What therefore should be the role of government? Should we massively intervene, or should only stop at building infrastructure?
So let us.
So can we really begin to discuss issues and we get out of sentiments?
Let's pick up from there after commercial break. But from what I see here, some of the highlights of FDC, what they are launching tomorrow, they are going to talk about the development policy and governance agenda. They are going to talk about investing in the people and expanding opportunity for every Ugandan. They are going to talk about building a people-centered and resilient economy. How? Here tomorrow.
Yes.
They are going to talk about education policy, giving every Ugandan child an opportunity to education.
But they should now agree, Chris, without bothering you, that for all of these, since 2011 when Comrade Besigye stood, okay, they should now agree that for all of this period, really, they have not offered anything substantive.
They are also going to talk about boosting export growth through agricultural transformation and many more things here I can see from the highlights. But I also want to hear what will be their policy position on the status of family in Uganda. Let's go for a commercial break. Welcome back to the Fourth Estate. We are discussing political parties and their policy options. Tomorrow, the Forum for Democratic Change is launching its alternative policy agenda here at the Kampala Serena. But want to look at that policy agenda. What does it have to remedy the situation on ground now? And in the studio, I have Dr. Patrick Wakida, a researcher, my OB, or actually my head boy.
Thank you very much.
And policy analyst Godeba Tumushabe, already discussing in a hot way with Frank Tuwebaze. Frank was sacked on Facebook but appointed officially. Frank was all over Facebook as having been sacked.
Facebook sacked
And
him,
I
but
think
officially he was appointed, which is great.
you made people make losses. I'm sure people were waiting for the announcement where your name is missing and they will have slaughtered goats.
But why?
If they bought goats,
Where
they
among
really
them,
made
Chris?
losses.
Where among those?
I'm not sure. I am not sure.
That tells you there's some impact I'm creating somewhere.
Okay.
Even that man who is annoyed with
Now
me,
you have to worry about whether the impact is positive or negative.
irrespective,
Yes, exactly,
if
yeah.
the effect is there, that means I am creating some impact. One is happy with it, one is not happy and is having all that wishful thinking.
Godba, should political parties formulate policy options in order to win elections, or they should win elections and formulate policy options?
No, I think they should start off by formulating policies. They should be able to tell us how will they run our country when they are in power. Why should I say I want to support NRM, I want to support the FDC, I want to support UPC? What should be the basis for me making that judgment? It is by formulating these policy agendas that I can be able to look at all of them and say, this party seems to be talking to me and talking to my issues compared to the other one. So I think that is the starting point. And I believe that if all these parties were able to put forward their policy agendas, then we can be able to shift the discussion from the petty politics and be able to focus now on the issues and say which are the superior ideas that these parties can use to be able to transform this country.
Frank, what political benefits do you see FDC accruing from these policy options they are launching?
Well, I don't support FDC. I belong to NRM. FDC is one of the leading parties that has been contending with us. There's a famous word our children in primary say, versing. So FDC has been versing us. But the point I have made, and which we even made in the break with Godba, is that you cannot make the perceived or real NRM weaknesses to be your justification or to be your political cause. You must show why you are superior to NRM. Let me simply, in just a minute, articulate to you NRM's policy agenda. When NRM came to power, the minimum policy agenda was recovery. Reconstruct a foreign economy, a country where state institutions were crumbling, restore security of life and property. In the minimum, so over the years, about 20 years, with the other insurgencies that ensued like Kony and all that, we had to deal with that. You now have peace from Kisoro to West Nile and to the east borders. So that was the minimum policy agenda, and we continue to consolidate that. The next piece of ideological standpoint, which informs our policies, is as government investing taxpayers' money in those sectors that the private sector person is not motivated by business gain to invest in. Okay, we may not be doing well maybe in the quality of education, but you will get a Sudir or a Godba to put up a very good institution for education. You will get Wakida and another doctor or Aga Khan to put up a good hospital. But there is no private business person who will build a road. There is no private business person who will build a dam for generating electricity so that you can increase on your generative capacity. So our policy priorities have been invest money in those infrastructure sectors that are a monopoly of government. And I can say we've delivered on this. So any other contender, therefore, or a person challenging us like FDC should come and tell us that all you are doing, the roads you are launching, you are just wasting taxpayers' money. The right course of action is perhaps to build silos
for agriculture. Second, now we can weigh which one is more relevant to Ugandans, which ones will solve quicker the unemployment question. We contend and believe that if you have enough electricity, roofing will increase its manufacturing capacity, it will open more branches, it will employ more Ugandans. More hotels will come up, more processing factories will come up, even at the level of a sub-county trading center. So that's our policy position. So we would want to hear another position challenging us. Not again, not sole candidate.
The question is, do you
yes.
see FDC getting political benefits from launching alternative policy options?
I have my own doubts. I have my own doubts because Ugandans who are really objective, even those who don't really admire NRM so much, have been putting the opposition on the spot. I sit in parliament. We changed our rules of procedure when Marat came into operation. When you present the budget as government, the leader of opposition, his or her minister of finance, present alternative speeches. Now, apart from rebuking, apart from condemnations, apart from emotional exaggerations, you don't hear an alternative policy.
The question still I'm asking,
yes.
Do you see yourself as a believer in NRM?
Yes.
Should FDC produce a beautiful policy option?
Yes.
Do you see, for instance, them being able to convince you to cross the FDC?
That one is not about to happen. You
Why?
see, ideally,
we believe in the policy options.
yes.
And you're saying let them bring alternative policy options.
Yes.
Should they deliver them tomorrow? Do you see yourself crossing to FDC on the basis of their policy options?
I won't cross. But
Why?
but there is one thing I can be impacted on. You see, why we pay for that leader of opposition to be there. By the way, it's no longer the idea of its government, the ruling party running government. You now have a legitimate opposition present in parliament. Godba calls himself a taxpayer. One day I would want to look at his income tax return. So his money and your money also goes to the opposition. So the best we can pick from their policy platform, their policy option, is if you critique NRM's options objectively, it could lead to a policy review. It could lead to a policy reversal. And to the Ugandan, to the citizenry, that's a benefit.
So then you are turning FDC into a pressure group, an interest group, not a
No,
political party.
no, I am
political
telling you.
party exists to take state power.
Parties review their options. Yeah. For you to be able to take power, you get the point, you must demonstrate. There is a person we covet, we really admire, all of us are fighting for, and this is the voter. Okay? So this voter must see in you social security, must see in you physical security of life and property, must see in you a predictable economy. The reason why...
Do these voters see that now?
For sure, yes, because you have a man in Kanungu. Yes. Let me finish this point. You have a man in Yumbe who has built a trading empire by coming to Chikubo or even to Guangzhou in China. He's been importing stuff for the last 3 years, okay? Growing, trading, getting money. He has a predictable trading environment. That tells you that the government in power manages the economy well.
Chris, Patrick,
otherwise nobody would risk
Patrick,
trading in
the point here. Yeah. The point here is to whether policy options can help parties get to power, yes, or parties can get to power then formulate policy options.
What comes first?
Why am I asking that? Do parties have the critical leverage mass? By this I mean, do they have the necessary numbers whom they can use to push through their policy options? For instance, in the parliament.
Let me first start by doing this. And I thought I want to fault Honorable Minister when he says that parties in parliament have not presented their policy alternative. I have watched Honorable Ekanya present a very credible alternative policy. I know for sure. I want to I want to tell Honorable Minister that I met the Minister of Agriculture, and he told me that one of the best alternative policy the opposition has ever produced was that of agriculture. I read that document myself. You see, this stereotype.
What was it? What was it? Articulate it and we hear it.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
You see, we should not have a stereotype that undermines other people's efforts. We can only appreciate other people's efforts even when they are not in government. And I think that should be the spirit, that when you see something good done by the opposition, please pick it.
No,
I know for sure.
But before your counsel, Wakida, tell us the good policy.
Honorable Minister,
yes.
Honorable Minister,
Yes.
I want to tell you that the policy, a number of policies that the government has implemented have not been of your own. I know for sure that the president of Uganda in 2001 and 2006 had no idea about abolishing the tax, the gratuity tax. It came out in the Besige's campaign, and it has been adopted, it has been implemented, and it's one of the best things people talk about in the villages. Now, let me go to your question. You said, should parties have policies before they go in government, or they should? Let me tell you, you can never give what you don't have. You are talking about policies. Demonstrate to me, if I'm a voter, I want to see that you have a focus, you have a vision where you want to take this country. And I think that's the basis of, of policies. It's not even an alternative. I don't want to call it an alternative. I want to ask you, what do you believe in? If you don't have anything you don't believe in, you'll never do it. And I think it's one of the things that we have a very good government that is good at coaching. It uses very intelligent people like my brother Tumevaze to tell a lie or to tell something which is not there, and then we will believe it. And that's very, very bad. Because Honorable Tumevaze knows by dictionary. I'll give you one of the actions of government. You come and start and say, entandikwa. You end up and say, bonabagagawale. You end up and say, prosperity for all. And then you change the semantics and call it wealth creation operation. That is deceptive.
Yeah, but you see, Dr. Wakida,
you see, I want us to address
apart
this.
from the English you are speaking,
Yes.
for the few minutes I've listened to you,
Yes.
you argued and said that the opposition articulated a very good agricultural policy.
Yes.
Can you tell our viewers,
and that
can
is-
you tell our viewers,
Yes.
was it articulating better land reuse? Was it talking about fertilizer usage? Was it talking about organizing farmers in cooperatives?
Exactly.
What was it?
Can I come to that?
The,
And
the
I
fact
think-
that even you,
Yes.
who in a way associates with them,
Yes.
in just a single minute, if you cannot summarize,
I want to sum up that for you.
if NRM has been meandering between wealth creation and Ntandikwa, you get it as
Yes.
you call it.
Yes.
What is your best?
Okay, let me put
If
this.
Ntandikwa failed because of implementation,
Okay.
still the spirit
Yes.
of accessing rural credit remains.
Okay.
That's the policy vision.
Let me
It may fail at implementation.
let me tell you the
but
problem.
what is the alternative you have?
Let me go straight to the agriculture sector, for example. You have a farmer who is competing with the minister to borrow money. I have been to China, I've been to Japan. All of these countries have got a national bank of agriculture.
And you have been to Russia.
Yes, and those are very important. Those are very important ingredients in a development. Where a minister borrows should not be the place where the person in Budaka or Karamoja is borrowing. You must provide that institution that can provide that. That is one.
So, Dr. Wakida,
Yes.
by giving us the policy options, how is the opposition able to translate the policy options to the expected results you're talking about? And why I'm asking this question is that politics and policy are one and are the same. What is the political domain, that zone of influence, that parties can use to influence?
Good.
If you don't have that zone of influence,
I have told you.
where are the LOC5 chairman for FDC? Where are the MPs? What are the numbers? Where are the LOC3 chairman?
I started from.
Where are they so that they can actually use those platforms?
In our discussion, I told you the biggest challenge in this country boils down to leadership. It's nothing to do with the policies. It's that the leadership must appreciate and must believe in something.
Which
And that's what
leadership
we have
in
to
this
do.
case? Are we talking about the ruling leadership or the
You see-
leadership in the opposition?
You see, you cannot be a national leader when you don't collect taxes. When you collect taxes, you begin to owe this man a service because he pays the tax.
Agreed.
And that is where the problem is. And I have had discussions with my friends in government, and I have told them, realign your government. Stop bringing people for political purposes. I'll give you an example. You have Honorable Mateke at 75 years.
72?
72 or so. I want to tell you that his thinking differs from the thinking of a person of 25 years old.
You must demonstrate that. Are you saying say Kibule is better than Mateke?
I am giving you.
That's a good question.
No.
You see,
Perfect.
what I am trying to
Are
see.
you, saying Honorable
Listen
Kibule
to
is
me.
better than
But
Mateke?
you see, you can see the diversion.
Listen
that
to
I
me.
take from
Hold it,
Listen to me.
Honorable.
What I'm trying to say is that the vehicle is as good as the goods that goes to the market. If you have the goods and you are carrying these potatoes from my village and your truck has got torn tires, it will never reach the market. And that's my point, that we need to package the policy,
Are you
but
saying-
we also need
Are you
the
saying,
truck.
are you
that
saying you
takes-
can carry potato sacks in a new Vitz car?
all you need. You see, politics is an expansionism.
I want to let Godba help us here.
Listen,
Godba.
listen, I want to clarify
Please.
this point. In 1980, when Mr. Museveni contested for the presidency, he got 1 seat. Today, he has over 200 seats in the parliament. And therefore, would you say that in 1980, Mr. Museveni did not have what he stood for? Definitely he did. The problem in this country is that the need to change government has overshadowed the need to showcase where you stand.
Thank you. You now have a point. So
Hold on,
what should we therefore concentrate on now?
Godba, I am
There you have
emphasizing
the
on this
point.
because
Yeah.
you're a technical policy analyst and you know that policy is functional politics.
But a biased
And-
one,
and-
I want to have you to have that disclaimer.
That will be debatable. You see, he talks about President Museveni. Godba,
No, you don't want to divert me.
Igina Frank for now. Godba, he talks about President Museveni in 1980. He had policy options,
Yes.
but they meant nothing without a domain.
Yes.
He chose another route, he got a domain where he's able to influence his policy options. I am asking, by launching policy options, political parties you're saying are doing the right thing. How does this translate into them getting the zone of influence upon which they are able to actualize? Or if not, how are they using the numbers they have to actually influence more numbers so that they get those political domains on which they can now actualize what they think about?
You see, Chris, what we need to understand is that when we are dealing with the development, running the country, there are two perspectives. There are two dimensions, actually. You have the policy agenda, what you intend to do, your focus, the direction you want to run. Then, as Patrick says, you have the delivery mechanism.
That's important.
Yeah. So I can guarantee you that I think it's good. That's why I said it's good that the FDC and probably other parties will come up and articulate their policy agenda. So
It's
that
important.
is a starting point, but it is not an end in itself. Once you have that, you also have to look at the delivery mechanism. Now, I want to differ with Frank substantially on the issue of the president and the overstaying power, because Frank says, and many NRM people say, oh, you know, everybody opposition, their problem is that Museveni should go. I think I have argued consistently that for every regime on this continent where the president overstays, and that president doesn't have to be Museveni, it can be you, Chris, it can be me, because it's evident from Angola to Zimbabwe to Uganda to Equatorial Guinea to Cameroon, where they overstay. The issue of discussion, the political discussion shifts from the policy agenda to the presidency or to the president, because the president who is running government or the party that is running government is a delivery mechanism, is a delivery vehicle.
Is the truck.
So it becomes an issue for discussion. In fact, you cannot divorce the policy discussions now from the delivery mechanism. Because you can have because NRM is not short of policies.
They do.
In agriculture, as Patrick tried to explain them, one of the most comprehensive agriculture policies was promulgated by President Museveni, I think in March of 2000, the Plan for Modernization of Agriculture, a comprehensive program, 7 areas that were supposed to be dealt with as a package. And the only thing that came out was to do NADS, that's extension services, and a few years later, a bit of agro-processing, and then microfinance. And the entire package was abandoned. And right now, what you hear is about NADS. You can look at in 2003 we had the private sector competitive program, a fairly robust program. But you see, unless you deal with the question of delivery, this debate would be here. So I think that we need to remain focused on both the policy, the content,
yes,
and the delivery mechanism. They are important.
Thank you for understanding my question,
allow me.
Before even getting there,
yes,
Frank, you have said that you have been faulting the opposition
yes,
for expressing sentiment,
yes,
not policy options.
yes.
But you also know that public policy cannot bear fruit unless the political relations are very correct.
Yes.
In this case, can you give evidence that the NRM has been able to listen to the alternative policy of the opposition and put it in the government agenda?
If it's there, we listen to it.
But
if
they have had manifestos before. They have had, if this has got a party platform before. Is there anything that the NRM has borrowed?
Unfortunately, Chris, even the people who associate with them most than myself only speak in general terms. If Wakida, whom I have seen participate in polls and research, cannot concretely bring out 5 pillars of their platform of FDC, cannot bring out 5 pillars of NRM had a 10-point program, everybody can sing it. And therefore you can be able to critique NRM, okay? You can be able to critique NRM on its laid down 10-point program or even 15. Godba is here telling you the 5 pillars of the 7 pillars of the MP, of the Plan for Modernization of Agriculture. NADS, NAS, the National Agricultural Research System, which I know very well in my head, the microfinance, agro-processing, value addition, both physical and technological. You can hear how it is flowing. So we cannot really borrow from just sentimental talk. But let me say 2 points. Political longevity, Godba.
Regime longevity.
Yeah, political longevity.
Regime longevity.
Whatever you have coached in your own English.
Yes.
This is an issue we can debate. There's a lot of scholarly material that can prove to you that if political longevity is positive, this is enormous for the country to reap. The Asian tigers will prove you wrong. But that does not, in a way, that should not be an excuse. Because if Museveni has stayed here on the will and mandate of the people, that should not be a reason, that Party X, okay, fails to articulate. Or even, by the way, you can win the citizenry by agreeing with the policy we are implementing and only propose how to implement it better. So, and the reason why NRM stays here and continues to stay here is because of that of lack of alternative. So if you want to take on NRM decisively, produce a better alternative. Don't live in denial.
But the question is...
Don't demonize those who support NRM.
Frank,
Call them psychopaths.
Frank, the
Yes.
question was,
Yes.
I asked you,
Yes.
as we go for the break,
Yes.
does the NRM have the capacity
Yes.
to take in a beautiful policy from FDC or
Why
FDC?
not? We have supported
Is there
iPod.
evidence?
We have supported iPod. That's evidence number 1.
That is politics. Let's go for a commercial break.
Yes.
We'll get back. We'll get
iPod.
back. We will get back.
Yes.
You know, We'll come back. We are still discussing policy options, especially from the opposition. At least the forum, we normally call it FDC, tomorrow is launching its policy options. I have highlights here, but in general terms, and therefore I can't refer to them. You'll hear to them tomorrow. In the UPC, Uluru Tunis option is I'm not standing.
If this is boycott,
And the DP, the option is Mao is on leave. He's taking a leave. So we do not know how that will translate into getting it power. Maybe God will help us there. The question is it enough to launch options? And these options, if they don't translate into capturing power, do they remain mere rhetoric? Because a political party, its ultimate existence is to capture power and then do what it professes to do. Do the opposition parties here know the rules of the political field in Uganda, and how are they going to address it, Godber?
No, I think I just need to go back to Frank's point because you see NRM, you know, I used to be M7ist.
Very many used to be.
Yeah, at least
you were actually wrong.
no, for me,
Because they are not Sevenists.
No, I am. I mean, I don't know.
He's
about,
not a character leader.
I don't know about others.
That's why you missed the
I don't
point.
know about others, but I used to be. But you see, there is this great deception called NRM, that you have a political party called NRM. You know that we had this movement system up to 2005. And then we vote to go multi-parties. And some guys, very smart guys by the way, say for us we are forming a party called NRM. And this NRM, NRMO, this NRMO picks up the movement system, which was supposed to be a movement that has all Ugandans, and picks up the entire state apparatus and makes it NRM. And and then you have this system that is saying all of you political parties, you have to compete with us. But I have many of my friends that are employed by government of Uganda who do NRM work. In political science, it's called prebendarism. You have an entire system, an entire infrastructure of government that NRM captures as a political party. You have an entire NRM infrastructure financed by the government. Because you see, I have argued time and again in the last delegates conference of NRM. For me, I have argued, and really this is my personal opinion, that if you have a political party where you need to deploy all the strategic resources of the state, the security resources from Special Forces Command to the regular forces to the police to the whatever, to be able to hold a delegates conference.
They were deploying doing what?
Then we don't need that kind of political party.
If I can ask,
and I would say the same thing whether you are FDC,
You want to ask him?
whether you are
Gordon.
yes.
You see, you should find out, especially when you have somebody on the show
Yes.
who was part of the organization. You should benefit from him. So
No,
what was the role of
I
deploying?
can
So what was the role of deploying the regular forces?
I
Where were they deployed?
I'm confident that you tell me the same.
So I'm not asking you.
No.
You see, we don't come here for this show indeed to make a show. We should
No,
speak things
I think-
which are genuine.
Unless you are saying
So
you're
I'm
making
asking
the show
my
fun.
question to you.
Yeah.
My question to you. When the NRM was having a delegates conference, who was deploying what force for what?
I think that's a question.
I have really heard you. I have heard you
Yes,
on
yes.
some media house say the same thing.
Yes,
Extreme force.
Yes.
So which enemy was going to attack us?
that's the question.
So who was
That's the
deployed
question.
where?
No, you need to tell me you are in government. You need to tell me.
And
who
how
deployed the
relevant? You
forces
see,
that were there.
because you see now,
Yes.
if that is the same policy advice you analysts give political parties, then you totally miss them.
What do you miss?
The subject we have here, you are talking of NRM being part of the state machinery, the movement system for all. Yes, it became a movement system for all because it had a thinking. It was not some abstract thing. There are people who subscribed to its ideological tenets.
So this is the movement for all now.
You get the point?
Is this a movement
So,
for all?
when the system changed, the thinking did not die. I want to tell you the truth. So those who still believed in that thinking organized themselves. So that's not a political crime. So, and that one does not in any way inhibit political party Y or political party X of your people to come up with superior ideas. So if you want to use that as an excuse to cover up the inability of the opposition to show leadership, then you are missing the point.
Frank, hold on, Godba. Frank,
Yeah.
you seem to espouse the view
Yes.
that NRM has the most beautiful policy options.
Because they were both.
Would you answer me?
Yes.
If these options are so beautiful,
Yes.
why is, let me use the word, why is fair education
Yes.
increasingly becoming a preserve for Kampala district and its surroundings?
Challenges in any system, up to now America, the world paragon, is still grappling with challenges in its healthcare. It is not stopping Obama to propose and fight to NEC to have certain healthcare reforms. We introduced UPE, we introduced USE, we introduced BitVet. We now have their own scheme. Now, for you therefore to choose,
The question I'm asking,
I'm getting to you, Chris.
you have all of those, Frank.
Yes.
Why is a sub-county chief in
Yes.
Kotido
Yes.
dying to bring their child to Kampala to study?
Because you have liberalized the sector.
What-
Even in Washington, D.C., a public
Was
school,
that a best option you brought?
it was from the circumstance. A public school in Washington, which is financed by the local taxes of Virginia or something, is totally different from the highest class.
Does your policy value a child in Toroko?
It does. And that's why you have engineers, that's why you have lawyers in Makerere, okay, who have come out as professionals courtesy to the UPE policy.
Welcome back. We are still discussing policy options, especially from the opposition. At least the forum, we normally call it FDC, tomorrow is launching its policy options. I have highlights here, but in general terms, and therefore I can't refer to them. You'll hear to them tomorrow. In the UPC, Oluru Tunis option is, I'm not standing.
If this is boycott,
And the DP, the option is Mao is on leave. He's taking a leave. So we do not know how that will translate into getting it to power. Maybe God will help us there. The question is it enough to launch options? And these options, if they don't translate into capturing power, do they remain mere rhetoric? Because a political party, its ultimate existence is to capture power and then do what it professes to do. Do the opposition parties here know the rules of the political field in Uganda, and how are they going to address it, Godba?
No, I think I just need to go back to Frank's point because you see NRM, you know, I used to be a Sevenist.
Very many used to be.
Yeah, at least
you were actually wrong.
no, for me,
Because they are non-Sevenists.
No, I am. I mean, I don't know.
He's
about,
not a character leader.
I don't know about others.
That's why you missed the
I don't
point.
know about others, but I used to be. But you see, there is this great deception called NRM, that you have a political party called NRM. You know that we had this movement system up to 2005. And then we vote to go multi parties. And some guys, very smart guys by the way, say for us we are forming a party called NRM. And this NRM, NRMO, this NRMO picks up the movement system, which was supposed to be a movement that has all Ugandans, and picks up the entire state apparatus and makes it NRM. And and then you have this system that is saying all of you political parties, you have to compete with us. But I have many of my friends that are employed by government of Uganda who do NRM work. In political science, it's called prebendarism. You have an entire system, an entire infrastructure of government that NRM captures as a political party. You have an entire NRM infrastructure financed by the government. Because you see, I have argued time and again in the last delegates conference of NRM. For me, I have argued, and really this is my personal opinion, that if you have a political party where you need to deploy all the strategic resources of the state. The security resources, from Special Forces Command to the regular forces to the police to the whatever, to be able to hold a delegates conference.
They were deploying doing what?
Then we don't need that kind of political party.
If I can ask
and,
Chris.
and I would say the same thing whether you are FDC,
You want to ask him?
whether you are
Gordon.
yes.
You see, you should find out, especially when you have somebody on the show
Yes.
who was part of the organization. You should benefit from him. So
No,
what, what was the role of deploying? So what was the role of deploying the regular forces? Where were they deployed?
I'm confident that you would tell me the same.
So I'm not asking you. You see, we don't come here for this show indeed to make a show. We should
No,
speak things
I think-
which are genuine.
Unless you are saying
So
you are
I'm
making
asking
the show
my
fun.
question to you.
Yeah.
My question to you. When the NRM was having a delegates conference, who was deploying what force for what?
I think that's the question.
I have really
that's
heard
the
you.
issue that
I
know.
have heard you
Yes,
on
yes.
some media house say the same thing.
Yes,
Extreme force.
Yes.
So which enemy was going to attack us?
that's the question.
So who was
That's the
deployed
question.
where?
No, you need to tell me you are in government. You need to tell me.
And
who
how
deployed the
relevant?
forces
Because
that
you
were
see,
there.
because you see now,
Yes.
if that is the same policy advice you analysts give political parties, then you totally miss them.
What do you miss?
The subject we have here, you are talking of NRM being part of the state machinery, the movement system for all. Yes, it became a movement system for all because it had a thinking. It was not some abstract thing. There are people who subscribed to its ideological tenets.
So this is the movement for all now.
You get the point?
Is this a movement
So,
for all?
when the system changed, the thinking did not die. I want to tell you the truth. So those who still believed in that thinking organized themselves. So that's not a political crime. So, and that one does not in any way inhibit political party Y or political party X of your people to come up with superior ideas. So if you want to use that as an excuse to cover up the inability of the opposition to show leadership, then you are missing the point.
Frank, hold on,
Yes.
hold on, Godba. Frank,
Yeah.
you seem to espouse the view
Yes.
that NRM has the most beautiful policy options.
Because they were both.
Would you answer me?
Yes.
If these options are so beautiful,
Yes.
why is, let me use the word, why is fair education
Yes.
increasingly becoming a preserve for Kampala district and its surroundings?
Challenges in any system, up to now America, the world paragon, is still grappling with challenges in its healthcare. It is not stopping Obama to propose and fight to have certain healthcare reforms. We introduced UPE, we introduced USE, we introduced BitVet. We now have their own scheme. Now, for you therefore to choose,
The question I'm asking,
I'm getting to you, Chris.
you have all of those, Frank.
Yes.
Why is a sub-county chief in
Yes.
Kotido
Yes.
dying to bring their child to Kampala to study?
Because you have liberalized the sector.
What?
Even in Washington, D.C., a public
Was that a best option you brought?
It was from the circumstance. A public school in Washington, which is financed by the local taxes of Virginia or something, is totally different from the highest class.
Does your policy value a child in Toroko?
It does. And that's why you have engineers, that's why you have lawyers in Makerere, okay, who have come out as professionals, courtesy to the UPE policy.
From which area?
Everywhere.
Do you have a-
Everywhere.
You know, Chris,
Frank?
No, but you see.
Everywhere.
You see,
So the weaknesses of a
I
system.
want Frank
Let me
to
finish
tell
my
us.
point.
I want us
The
to-
weaknesses of a system should not only be reason for you to say this system does not work.
No, you see,
Yes.
it's not the weakness of a system. You
Yes.
see, if you have a system
Yes.
that is in power for 30 years,
Yes.
you can count how many children
Yes.
have missed out on an education. I've just told you that between 1997 and 2008, 16 million children plus are unaccounted for between primary 1 and primary 7. That's a lost generation.
Well, that's a challenge.
That's a lost
Because you see,
generation.
that's a challenge to address.
So when do your challenges translate into
wait,
problems?
wait. That's a
Let
challenge.
me
to
go back.
address.
Let me ask
That's a
us
challenge
a
to
good
address.
Patrick. Let me ask
You only remain there.
Frank?
You don't tell us
Frank?
district by district.
Frank?
Okay? District by district.
Frank?
The same products of the same
Frank?
system.
Frank?
You don't recognize the players in the education sector. Unlike construction of bridges
Minister
and
for-
roads.
Minister for
Let me
Presidency.
finish this point. I rarely come to your show. Unlike the construction of roads, education is a multi-stakeholder sector. You have private players.
That sounds like my
Ideological.
ideological.
Frank,
It makes sense.
Frank.
So if you have a challenge of dropouts, you are a researcher.
Frank.
So what solutions are you prescribing? What would you want we, the people in government, to do? Because dropout is as a result of cultural issues, community issues.
Can I give?
Hold
Give
on.
us ideas.
Frank, as you give him ideas,
Yes,
Frank,
yes.
is UPE good?
It is good, given.
Hold on.
Yes.
I just want to answer.
Yes.
How many ministers have their children in UPE schools?
A minister will not take a child with UPE because it is a basic solution. It's a basic solution intended to equalize the underprivileged. Wow. A minister, even a Godba, even you, the journalist, you will not take your child to UPE school. You will take your child to where you can pay 1.5 at Kampala parents.
Why?
Because you earn it.
Is UPE education good?
I am a product of a school. You get it? Where we didn't even have desks. There were people going to Mbarara Junior. Perhaps Godba went there. But my father couldn't afford going to Mbarara Junior. So the NRM comes to give opportunities to the underprivileged.
So UPE is for the poor.
for those who cannot afford. Yes.
So it's for the poor. And yet those days you, a poor Tumwebaze, would study with a child of a minister. So
doesn't matter, but I made it.
how many children in Kamwenge
Yes.
will get opportunity to sit in a classroom with the children of their MP?
So my question to you,
serious.
for you,
Very serious.
all you value is a child sitting with a child of a minister.
Yes.
You don't value the minimum opportunity to be given to every Ugandan to gain access.
You see,
What is
Why isn't that
you
important
see-
to you?
Patrick,
see-
Patrick,
you see,
what
Chris.
is good for the gander
Yes.
You
is
see,
good for the
Chris.
goose.
Yeah, but you move.
Why is UPE
It's
good
not
for the
declared.
poor and not for the minister?
want
My
to-
question to
I-
you,
I want-
when you went to university, before I went to university, there was what they call faculty allowance. Do you know why government was paying faculty allowance? They were even paying people to come from the district to come and pay. There were very few people.
you see, Chris.
But
Chris,
because the sphere is broadened, that's why everybody comes
I want
up.
to appreciate the minister.
Yes.
But I want to say this, that unfortunately, that child we are talking about sits the same exams.
Yeah.
like
With the minister's
of
child.
minister. And that is the problem.
Now, can I tell you, can I give you my own experience?
Yes.
I am a product of a system that was far inferior to UPE.
No, it was
Far
never. It was
inferior.
never far inferior.
You here?
No, I attended the class.
You are older than me.
Let's hear from
Let me
God.
tell you my
I
experience.
want
Primary one.
to, I want to expound on what I was saying.
Yes.
Yes.
Education is a social good, unfortunately. As much as we want to capitalize it and make it commercial, the role of the government is to offer an equal opportunity
Yes.
for everybody to
It's
go
an
to school.
equalizer.
Yes.
It's an equalizer.
I want to tell you I'm seated here with the honorable minister, not because my mother was able to produce me, but because I was able to go to school, and therefore we sit in the same office or in the same place with the minister. It's an equalizer. Now, if you begin to think, honorable minister, I want you to think about this. If you begin to think that you can offer an inferior product for some population, and yet there is a population that's consuming a superior product, you create a disparity.
Can I ask you a
Let
question?
me finish
Yes,
this.
yes.
You create a disparity that will stay for generations and generations.
Let's understand what's good for us.
I want us to look at this.
No, but before you leave that point,
Yes.
so what is best for Uganda? What is best for Uganda in your perspective is have a few bulldogs.
No.
Let me come to you.
No.
Let me
I don't
make
think
my
that-
point.
I don't
Have
think-
a few bulldogs.
that's-
Allow me to make my
think
point.
you presented it as Patrick's
I
point.
think I want to bring
I
this.
have a question for
Okay,
you. Have a few bulldogs.
Yes.
Have a few Nabumalis. Have a few Nyakasuras that we are taking even
see-
1%.
Yes.
So how will government?
Okay.
My
Can I-
question
can
to
I-
you is
yes.
how will government?
I want.
how will
I think.
government?
I think I don't want to.
Doctor,
This, yes.
how will government?
Yes.
Bring that equalization you are
Okay,
talking about.
okay, very good.
If it's not attempted,
Very good.
If it's not
You
attempted,
see-
to
you see-
serve.
Let Patrick answer that now.
Yes.
Honorable Tumwebaze, I know for sure that universal primary education is one of the excellent policies. Unfortunately, Chris, is
Excellent policies or excellent intentions.
Wait. And
policy itself
NRM,
But the intentions are wrong.
NRM wants to own this policy. This is one of the policies of United Nations, that all children must be in school. And the effort of government is to make sure that all these children who go to school really attain knowledge, skills,
And education.
and education. That is the role of government. And what we want to see are policies, specific policies, that can bring this child to equal. You come from which district? Bukedea?
Yes.
I want to assure you that you don't have more than 5 people probably who got first division. I also want to assure you that at the time of graduation in Makerere, I may be wrong, but you did not have more than 10 people celebrating graduation parties around there. Now, that is a disparity. Education must bring everybody to the same table. That is how countries like Britain, Germany, and the United States have managed to move.
My question,
and I would add,
my question,
let me-
Britain and Germany did not wake up and get there.
You see,
So, so now, tell us.
That's my problem.
Tell the viewers.
That's my problem.
Tell the viewers.
Wait a minute.
Tell the viewers.
You see,
what is the prescription?
you see, Chris,
Please
let me
talk.
clarify
Can I talk
this.
about the
Let me
Yes.
first go
UPE
here.
Hold on,
has
let's-
a different text, Y, Z. What is
I
the
want to
proposal?
say,
Let's hear Patrick.
I want to say
Yes.
that, Honorable Tumwebaze, there are things that we look at in a simple context. This government has been in power for 30 years.
We know that.
I want to tell you that the majority of Ugandans who live today were not there when Mr. Museveni came to power. And therefore, we cannot remain at the baby steps. And you say, let's follow the baby steps.
What do you want to
cannot
see?
remain at the bottom of a pool when you are climbing up there. We want to be somewhere. And I think the aspiration of anybody, me, Chris, my village people, they are looking at that hope. That is the hope we want to see.
But
You don't answer my question. You don't answer my question.
You see,
You are the consultant
Patrick, let
for the
me-
FDL policy agenda. I am aware.
you see,
What
you
are
see-
you prescribing
you
for
see-
us?
Let me add.
We would
yes.
want a
Let me-
Tamaka road.
Let me
Okay.
add.
We would want
Okay.
we would want a Tamaka road in
Okay.
every
Okay.
sub-county.
Let me add that
We would want
the
the best
tragedy.
clinic.
Yes.
What are you
The
proposing?
tragedy-
and that's
Let me add that the tragedy of our current leadership today is actually the fact that they use our failures of the past to measure their success.
which scares everybody.
That is scaring to me.
Were they even failures?
Yeah, that's scary. That's scaring to me. They don't look at the future of where we should be. If you are doing a journey from Kampala to Mombasa in 10 hours, and in 8 hours you are in Busia, you've definitely made progress. But you could have chosen an alternative means of transport to be able to get to Mombasa. So even with the UPE, it's good to send kids to school.
Very excellent.
But the quality of your government, and no matter which party is in charge, is going to be determined whether that government is able to provide a public education system that works for the vulnerable, for the disadvantaged people that Frank is talking about. The quality of a government is going to be determined by the provision of a quality public healthcare system that works for the disadvantaged. So you can talk about all the Aga Khan is starting schools and this and that, but the government that will pay taxes must be looking at the public service delivery system.
If I may come in,
and
Chris.
quality
If I may come in,
service
Chris.
delivery.
Chris.
Before
I
you-
am one
before-
against
before
two.
you come in-
I must correct this impression.
No, you are not against anybody.
No
Frank.
matter
We are
what,
discussing
You're one versus two,
no
not
matter
against.
what level of pessimism you trade.
Yes.
You see, we are not living in Mars. We are living in a country called Uganda. You get it? Ugandans pay their taxpayer their money to government. Okay? Government puts 800 billion every year to finance UPE, to finance USE. Thousands of classrooms get constructed. 20,000 teachers get employed. A government teacher is paid now coming close to 400,000 as compared to the one in a private school who does not even get paid during holidays. So when you are talking, trying to turn it into a sentimental affair, come out and tell us, what is this inhibiting the quality you are talking about? Is it inspection? Is it underfunding?
Are you actually suggesting that you
please,
don't know?
Let me finish my point. Let me finish my point, Godba. Because I have heard you talk, these arguments, rehearse the same. Simply tell us, is it underfunding to the sector? We put 800 billion as government to UPE and USE alone. No donor money. Let me give you facts now. You can go and write in your policy documents. Now, so tell me.
That is assuming that I
So,
need the facts.
Tell me.
Because
you
you
ought
see-
to know them.
No, stop
you ought to know them.
Stop for a moment,
Because
Frank.
if you don't
Stop-
know them,
stop there.
No, wait.
Stop there. No. Look,
If you can't
you
articulate
are-
them,
you are- you are
will
asking
continue
questions.
to trade pessimism.
You are asking questions
We
that
have
you should be
districts in
answering as a
Uganda.
government minister.
Listen.
These are the questions
we,
you should
we
be
have
answering
districts
to
in
the people of
Uganda.
Uganda.
We are answering them.
Look, where are you
we are
answering
answering them. I will tell you. You will go to Kamwenge, okay? In 99, by 99 when I graduated, okay? We were about 5 graduates. By the time I went to university in 96, we had one graduate of the old system who had been paid by the entire government. You go to a district now, you find 30, 40 graduates.
Of what quality?
Well,
Because
well,
there's evidence.
when you talk of what
There's
quality,
evidence that
Chris,
even
you are here.
even Makere you went through,
Yes.
they now give fake degrees.
That's
Why?
The same Makerere you are trying to demonize is ranked number 7 in the whole world. The same, yes, let's be sincere. Honestly, God, it's not enough that you people called researchers, because you enjoy so much time to tell the public, you go to Makerere. The same UPE children from Toroko, the same UPE children from Kamwenge, not many of them, because previously there was none. Now you have 5, 10 coming. Don't they pass the same grades like the ones of Budo?
So you're saying that's
So now,
enough for you?
so now,
That's-
no,
that's something
just
it's
hold
not
on.
enough.
Just hold on.
Yes,
About.
it's not
Please,
enough.
I
What I
want
would want to hear
to-
from you as a policy critique,
I want
tell
to-
me how to improve the system.
Then,
But to lament
can you hear from
and,
them now?
and declare
okay,
hopelessness
Can you hear
is
from
equally a
Frank?
disaster
Can
on
you
your
hear
part.
from
Please,
them now? Because
I
am
one,
listening.
I
if
want
you
to-
say,
I
if
want
you
to
say,
bring
Patrick,
something.
you're coming in. If you
Yes.
say that Makere is ranked number what in the world?
Yes,
If
I have
if,
not
if,
had
if,
children.
If Godiba,
I have
hold
not
on,
had children
Hold on.
expelled from Makerere because of being UPE
hold on,
products.
hold on.
Yes.
If Godiba told us he is, this is the Congo, and the Pygmies declare him the tallest man,
Giant.
do we go celebrating that you actually have the tallest man in Uganda?
You see,
Well, so now the question is, we
No, just answer me. Do
I am
you,
trying to answer your question.
because the Pygmies have
Simply-
declared Godiba tall,
Simp-
do we believe that?
Yeah, but you see, he should celebrate because he will be taller than some people who are also Ugandans, for sure. But you see, like, we are not here really to sing as if we are from Mars. If we are not yet there, we would want to see tarmac in every sub-county of Uganda. We would want to see health center at every parish, isn't it?
The
Whatever
question
you do,
they are asking,
no,
even the one you have,
please listen to me. Chris.
why is it very modicum? Why is it rather with
I
incompetence?
don't agree with that. I don't agree with
Because
you.
Frank,
I
listen
don't
to them.
agree with
Listen to
you.
them. They are saying,
I don't-
God by saying UPE has issues. Leave alone UPE, higher education has
Please,
issues.
listen to me.
Leave alone higher education, health has
I
issues.
want to
Listen to me.
Agriculture
listen to
has
me.
issues.
Oh,
Why?
God,
I want to
It
give,
depends the analysis.
some advice on
Allow,
one thing that-
allow me to make my
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
And you know, for me, when I come to your show, Chris, I can never allow to be diverted. I must make a point because people need to listen to it.
It's because you spend more time diverting the
No, no,
the
no,
rest
no,
of the
no, no,
speakers.
no, no. Because you see, for you, Godoba,
Yes.
to want to force a narrative that
narrative?
all is dead and there is no hope, as if this system called UPE, you get it. I have given you the figures. I have told you the classrooms constructed. I have told you that over 10 years, for example, the teacher to pupil ratio, okay, which is a very serious input in terms of quality assurance, has been reduced. At least now.
I agree.
So why don't you mention it? Because you see, you want us to get to the mass, but you do not want to discuss the ingredients that takes us there. If we are, the more we employ,
let's hear from
let me
Patrick.
finish my point. The more
You're
we
not
employ
finishing.
teachers, the more we employ, because you don't want to hear this, but the more we employ teachers in the public service, the more we narrow and reduce the class size, the more we guarantee teacher pupil attention. The more we improve the quality. Now, you will not become a British.
okay,
you will not become an American by just dreaming.
Honorable
You work for it.
Honorable Tumwebaze, the struggle of this country is to have leaders who ask people to postpone their today needs
And the tragedy of this
that-
country
yes.
is to have leaders
Listen to him.
who want to be leaders.
I want to complete
Can we
this
hear from
point.
Patrick?
And that's a very big tragedy. You have told us, hold on, for a long time. We know what this country can offer. We know that Uganda is one of the
When you
richest
say we,
countries.
you and who?
As
You
Ugandans,
and who?
as Ugandans,
citizens,
as
brothers.
as citizens of this country, we know very well. And we cannot postpone.
I wish you could say as ordinary citizens.
As ordinary citizens,
Yeah.
we cannot allow to postpone that. And this is what I would be expecting in these policies, that you can give me that hope. Let me give you an example. The basis of any good health care in a country is its primary health care system. When you go to Mulago today, you get a crowd. Even for the illness and sickness that could have been treated at Health Center 2 or Health Center 3. But because the Health Center 2, which feeds into this, is so incompetent, you get those people moving there. And in essence, they overcrowd. Anybody who prescribes a policy should be based on making these units, the Health Center 2, Health Center 3, function.
So how are the opposition going to make them function?
This is the
They need to
issue.
tell us.
This is the issue, and that's what I expect.
they need
I
to tell
expect
us.
them
No,
to
but
prescribe.
my point, if you could allow me.
Let me
We'll
finish.
get back to you.
Let me finish, Frank,
We are winding up.
because me and you will be discussing this. I want to see the basic approach that allows a farmer to get the ingredients that he needs to use to grow the crop and to sell his crop. Because that is what earns him a living.
Yes.
I want to see proposals that allows this kid to stay in school, allows the teacher not to go in the private school. In Rwanda, the other day I was reading that people are actually abandoning private schools for public schools. I want to see that. I want to see where a child from Koboko is sitting an exam, the same question, and that he's able to perform.
You want to see an MP of Koboko having their children in a primary school in Kiboko,
Yes,
Koboko,
yes.
not having them in
Let
Kampala.
me tell you,
Yes.
Christian, you and me know, we went through Ngomeses. We sat the same exams. You can go and cross-check. I scored an A in economics. But I also know that there are people from Kivuli Obudo who did not score A.
Okumu was teaching you economics, I
And
know
that
that.
is the
And
basis.
Edumu.
That is the education we expect.
So, Patrick,
You see-
what
yes,
has
Patrick,
changed?
time is
Yes.
not helping us
What
here.
does that change?
Yes.
In a summary form, as we
Yes,
wind up,
yes.
it's clear
Yes.
from our discussion
Yes.
that the greatest problem in Uganda today
Yes.
is inequalities
Yes.
of whatever form.
Yes.
Now, what could be briefly a policy prescription from either NRM or opposition to fight inequality and provide equal opportunities to all citizens?
You see, I have just given you that UPE is an instrument you can use. You can grow a generation that works on the equal footing.
But it is there and
This is what I'm
segmenting.
saying. Let's have a UPE education with motivated teachers, with a classroom functioning, with a supervision of teachers. Let me tell you, when you leave a teacher in the village there, the man comes to class at about 11. You know how inspectors used to
Let's
move
hear
in the
from
schools.
Godba.
Yeah, so especially for education, there are three elements of education that you have to deal with. One is the responsibility of the parents.
Yes.
You cannot shift that responsibility of a child completely from the parent. UPE has almost done that because there are people who say those are Museveni's children. Secondly, you have to deal with the learning environment. You can't just put kids in these funny classrooms and under trees and whatever and you say we are providing an education. And you see, I'm saying this because I know for sure that this country, this government has sufficient resources to be able to actually provide a learning environment for our children. Thirdly, you have to deal with the teachers, the motivation, the pride. The teachers must be proud to be teachers. That we have that we have not addressed. Fourth, you have to deal with the inspection system.
Yes.
That if you are a headmaster in a public school, and for the last 5, 6, 10 years, kids have been failing, you can't get a grade 1, what is the corrective measure that as government you can do. So there must be an inspection
Time
system.
is not helping us. If I'm an inspector, Godba, and my boss is a minister, to whom do I write the reports?
To whom do you write? No, there must. You see that. That's why I keep on saying that actually it's the system that is not
An
functioning.
inspector is not by a minister.
Yeah,
It
it
is
is-
just
no, no,
confuse
no.
issue.
Where do those reports
Can I
go?
finish my point?
But these are researchers. I
I finish my
am
point?
really shocked.
We are running out of time.
We are running out of time, and I should make a concluding word.
Yes.
That the inspection system, you have to, as a government, you have to create a system that has internal accountability across the scale. But you know, this is the point. Of course, Frank will call it a narrative that even when you look at the districts, we've created districts, created more councillors, more chairpersons, more RDCs, more everything, instead of dealing with the problem that we are confronted with.
You see,
Frank, it looks like you have created more inequalities
You see,
as NRM.
Chris, I am happy I'm debating with people who are strongly associated, for sure I know, with the launch of the FDC agenda tomorrow. And I will create
Are we
time.
less associated with the government? that
Are
we
you
will
going to come
Wait a
in
minute,
there?
because
Are you going to go
I
there?
want to start.
We are summarizing.
we
Can we-
associated
Tomorrow,
with the government that we pay
whatever,
taxes?
you know your association.
Okay.
But there is an event tomorrow.
Is it wrong for them to associate
I am
with
not
FDC?
saying that. Don't divert me.
Okay.
I would want tomorrow,
To hear.
from the document you will launch,
Yes.
of which you are the technical source persons, I would want to, I will read it, I will read it, I would want to come back on this show,
We'll give him a
I would
new
want to come back to your KFM show, I would even write an article about it, you know, at
Yes.
least I can know how to write. I would want to see whether your prescription
Yes.
points out the areas you are creating now.
Yes.
When you talk about education, my disagreement with you is one. First of all, you fail to acknowledge the journey we are walking. Okay? From having an education system of 1 or 2 people in a district. You call it a right. You have a history where to hear somebody in Makerere from Kamwenge, I don't want to talk about Untungamo, you know it better, was like hearing God. But now,
But Pulukolo came from Karamoja up to London School of Economics.
thank you. And I'm happy you mentioned him as Purukor.
Yes.
Why don't you say Mena Karamojong
He was
people?
the son of a peasant as well.
Yes.
Yes.
So now, what the government is trying to do, create more opportunities for as many of those to come out. Yes, you would want them to study with children of ministers. You get the point. We would want to see everything at the same level. You get the point.
Thank you very much,
now,
Frank.
But for you to
Time
get
is not
there,
on our side.
for you to get there, you don't dream. You work for it. You collect taxes.
Actually, our point is that you're not working for it,
You,
and yet you
you
can.
build the tax base,
Can. Yeah.
which you have built. You invest more money in there. You get the point, and you get there.
Thank you very much,
Yeah.
Patrick, for coming.
Thank you.
Godba, the policy analyst, technical one.
The bias-
although Frank says the,
The
bias
biased analyst,
Whatever you are picking, that's
chief
right.
Thank you,
consultant
Frank,
on the
for-
policy agenda.
Thank you, Frank, for coming. And to all the women, today was the
If
Women
Frank
Day.
knows how much I have consulted.
I
for
know,
this.
I
The
know.
Fourth Estate associates with the women in the villages who are toiling day in,
Chris.
day out. There's no fuel now. There's no firewood. There's no piped water. To you,
There
we
is.
say thank you for that endurance. Until next Sunday.